Hi guys, Beck here. Today we're at Marty's Toys and Hobby store and we're looking at starting up and tuning up your Nitro RC. Now we're lucky enough to have Dave the manager. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now Dave, look, how easy is it to sort of start up the Nitro for a novice?
If you follow a few basic steps, Nitro cars should start up within 30 seconds to a minute of putting fuel into them.
Okay, and is it safe for kids? And I mean, do we need a fire extinguisher or anything like that?
No, you don't need a fire extinguisher. I wouldn't be letting a child of 6 or under play with a Nitro car, certainly not unsupervised. They do have poisonous fuel and they do get extremely hot.
Okay, and are there special precautions that we need to take before we go ahead and start with the car?
Not necessarily, just being careful when putting the fuel into the car. You don't spill it all over it, but it's not like petrol. It can't explode by itself unless it has an actual naked flame.
So, Dave, is this a particularly tricky car or can we go straight into the dummies version?
We can show you a dummies version of how to get it started. It's quite simple.
Okay, great. Should we do it?
Yeah, so if you
cool.
skip the car.
Yep.
Typically the car would come in a box like this or a bit smaller.
Nice and big.
On opening the lid, you'll find that there's a car inside it. It's usually held down with cable ties. In the box here would be the radio system. Sorry. You would need you need 12 AA batteries for it to start with when you purchase a car. You'd also need to buy at least 1 litre of 20% nitro fuel, and also what they call a starter pack, which is a glow igniter and a few other things. If we get this one from behind the counter here.
As you're doing it, what's the difference between the types of fuel that you use for it?
Generally, on-road 110s cars will use 16% nitro fuel. That's how much nitromethane is mixed in with the methanol. Over 1/10 or 1/8 cars and bigger would use 20% nitromethane generally. More performance, they could go to 25 or even 30% of nitromethane. It's just methanol, nitromethane and a synthetic oil.
Great, okay, well let's get into it. Let's have a look.
So once you take the cover off the car, inside the car there's all those electronics in the engine. Under this cover here is where you would put the first 4 AA batteries of your pack. There's a little holder in there. When you unpack the radio, 8 AA batteries go in the bottom of it. Slides open, you slide them all in. When you switch this on here, then you turn the car on. Here everything works. Throttle opening and closing. When you pull the trigger, the throttle should open. When you push the trigger, it should put the brakes on. And
wow, they're pretty sturdy brakes there.
Yeah, has to. This car is more than capable of 80 kilometres an hour.
Wow.
Weighs 4 or 5 kilograms. It can certainly do you some injury. Wow. So as I say, pulling the trigger opens the throttle and releases the brakes. Pushing the trigger forward actually applies the brakes and closes the throttle.
Okay, and what about different brand engines?
There are a lot of different engines, but they're generally all the same when it comes to starting.
Right.
They're all just a little 2-stroke engine. They use a glow plug in here, not dissimilar to a diesel engine. Just goes orange with voltage, starts the fuel burning. Once the engine's running, then you take the glow igniter off and it will keep going.
Good stuff. Is there anything else that you want to have a quick word about before we...
They're generally four-wheel drive.
Yep.
They generally don't have reverse. Some have 2-speed transmissions. There is an exception, which is this car here, the Revo 3.3. That is the most complicated of all of them. Has reverse 2-speed transmission, has a much bigger engine, has onboard electric starting. That's the type of things you can get. This is just basically a pull start engine. I can show you how to get it going. It's not a very difficult thing.
Let's do it.
This would be the starter pack that you would purchase for the car. It comes with a fuel bottle, glow igniter, charger for the glow igniter, a couple of screwdrivers and a wheel spanner.
And does that come with the car?
No, you have to buy that as a separate thing.
Yep.
Generally around about $50 to $60 of extra cost if you haven't had a nitro car before.
Right.
Basically you would put your fuel from your 1 litre container into your little fuel bottle, open the lid up of the car, just tip it in there till it's just about full or pretty close to full.
Yep.
Right. You don't have to have the engine running, the radio system on to have it started. You can actually have it turned off. Open the throttle up a little bit like I have here. I would normally do this to prime the engine, which would be to pressurise this with your mouth. what it does is it puts fuel into the engine.
Right, okay.
Got my spanner here somewhere.
Man of many tools.
The glow plug is in here. This spanner is also included in the kit.
Right.
This is what actually makes the engine start up.
Okay.
This is the glow stick that would be in the kit that you would charge up.
Yep.
When you actually apply it to the glow plug, it makes it glow up orange.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Don't
That's
touch
great.
it with your finger. So you force that fuel into the engine with your mouth there, put the fuel on back on.
Do you want to show the guys at home if you can?
So you basically just take this off here. And if you watch this fuel here, you can see it going up to the engine.
Yeah, yep.
You saw it moving there?
I did.
Have the carburetor just opened a little bit, like I have there.
Yep.
And put this on here, and hopefully it should start. Now I've flooded
Ready to
it.
step.
No, what's happened there, because it's got really tight, it's because I put too much fuel in it. So the simple method for that is not to keep pulling it and break the pull start. You take the glow plug out.
Well, it's a good note to make then, so not to put too much fuel in it.
Turned upside down, just pull the handle.
Okay.
See the fuel spraying out of it.
Yep. I can smell that too.
And then we put this back in. And this quite often happens with the new engine. It is a brand new engine. When they're worn in a little bit, they're a little bit easier to start.
Yep.
Just make sure that's open a little bit. They like to be a little bit open just to get started. That's
unreal.
how simple it is to get a brand new engine started. It only takes seconds.
Unreal.
If you've got to keep pulling it, some people pull it for 10 minutes, something's not right. You need to take the plug out, get the excess fuel out.
I'll give you guys a call.
Yeah, well, you can do.
Awesome. And that's it?
And that's it. From new, cars are pre-tuned. You just stick it on a brick or off the ground, have a fan blowing on it, leave it running for at least 2 tanks of fuel, just idling like it is there.
Yep.
After the 3rd tank of fuel, you can put it on the ground and you can drive it around slowly. No more than 1 second bursts of full power. And once you get to about 5 tanks of fuel, you should be able to start giving it a bit of a hiding. They will need tuning up as they run in.
How often does that need to be done?
Usually only have to do it once.
Okay.
Once you've done a run-in period with our new cars, we tune them up for free.
Yep. Oh, that's good.
There's 2 methods of tuning it. This one here is the idle mixture screw. It only affects the idle of the engine.
Yep.
When it was doing.
Yep.
This one here is for the high end, so at flat out, you can lean it off to make it go faster or richen it to make it go slower.
So this is when it's doing the 80 clicks an hour?
Yes.
Yeah.
Generally, they're pretty good out of the box. It's usually only the idle mixture that needs to be adjusted.
Yep.
Normally what happens when they're new, they're idling, they're running, if you pull the trigger, it should rev up instantly. If it just instantly dies when you pull the trigger, then it's too lean, and this one needs to be screwed looking at it from its side anti-clockwise, richens it, clockwise leans it. Same with this one, anti-clockwise richens the engine, clockwise leans the engine.
Okay.
You should do the idle first, so that the engine, when you pull the trigger, it revs up straight away.
Yep.
Once that part of the engine's tuned, then you go to the outside and you start playing it on the paddock, and you just keep, these are only adjusted about 1/8 of a turn at a time.
So this is definitely an outdoors car.
Most definitely.
Yeah, too fast?
Too fast for inside, way too fast.
Yeah.
Would race your normal car off the mark, this car.
Oh,
They can wheel stand if they're tuned correctly.
yeah.
And very, very fast.
Oh, awesome. Love that. Loved a good fast car.
And the other thing to remember with cars, which people forget, batteries. These batteries are only good for about 1.5 hours of actual switched on time. So you turn it on for 10 minutes and turn it on for 10, that's 20. When
Even fanging it?
Doesn't make any difference. After 1.5 hours, take the batteries out, throw them away, put the new ones in. Because this will just sort of, if it switches off itself, it'll just keep going at whatever speed it was going at till it hits something.
Oh God, okay, don't want that.
But starting this car is indicative of starting all nitro cars that are there, 1/10 or 1/8 scale cars. It doesn't make any difference.
So once you know how to do that, you're kind of good to go for any car. Great.
They're very, very easy to start. Flooding's the biggest thing. If you feel a lot of resistance here, plug out, turned upside down.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And that's it for now, guys. Until next week, where we've got more from Marty's Toys and Hobby Store.